This presentation is on the article Stress in the City, Urbanization and its Effects on the Stress Physiology in European Blackbirds. In order to understand stress physiology, we must first look at the different changes that humans have made and the effect that these changes have on various species. The most drastic change made by human development is the expansion of urban areas. Urban areas take space away from the surrounding natural woods, introduces the permanent presence of humans, non-native predators, and noise and light pollutions. But benefits include warmer microclimates and additional food supplies. Under adverse environmental conditions, species have a genetic stress response to ensure their survival. This stress response is the release of glucocorticoids, or steroid hormones, called acute corticosterone stress response. If these hormones are secreted for a short period of time, it helps to stimulate gluconeogenesis, inhibit glucose utilization in non-essential tissues, mobilize fat stores, and redirect the animal's behavior. These are all beneficial to mediate any stresses the animal is under due to the environment. However, long-term secretion of these hormones are dangerous, as elevated levels of circulating glucocorticoids can impair reproductive functions, immune functions, and/or brain functions. So unless animals adjust their stress response in urban environments, they will suffer. European blackbirds are the most common bird species in Central European towns. This species was once a timid forest bird, but since the early 19th century, the blackbirds have gradually been colonizing cities. Based on our knowledge of increasing hormone levels for a long period of time, these birds should be suffering, but instead they are thriving. This has led scientists to believe that there are some significant differences from their forest counterparts. Scientists have already observed some of these differences. The city blackbirds have an extended breeding season, a tendency for greater longevity, a reduced propensity to migrate, and are overall tamer. Common garden can refer to a range of experimental designs in which organisms from different areas are grown together under the same environmental conditions. The experiment conducted is a single-species common garden experiment, which consisted of hand-raising and keeping these birds under identical conditions. During the first fall, first winter, and first spring, the scientists quantified the acute corticosterone stress response by applying a standardized capture and handling stressor protocols to all individuals. This was to raise their stress levels and therefore their hormone levels, and the blood sample was analyzed to record these levels. The purpose of this study is to see if European blackbirds have genetically adapted to their urban environments by analyzing corticosterone, stress response, and hormone levels. Corticosterone responses to the stress of capture and handling in hand-raised urban and forest birds occurred in the months of September, December, and March. In the spring, no female blood samples were collected because the female birds were being used for another experiment. Based on the baseline levels in stress response, it was noted that the corticosterone baseline levels and acute corticosterone stress response varied between seasons. In the fall, the baseline levels were lower and their stress response was high. In the winter, both were low, and in the spring, the baseline levels were lower than in the winter, and the stress response was high. In addition, the female European blackbirds had lower baseline levels and exhibited lower stress responses than their male counterparts. Overall, these results indicate that European blackbirds born in an urban environment exhibit a lower acute corticosterone stress response than birds originating from the forest. It was distinctly lower in both sexes during the winter, when the reproductive system was still underdeveloped, and for males in the spring when both groups were preparing for reproduction. Based on the data and results, scientists have proposed various reasons for the differences in results between the urban and forest birds. The first proposition was that the lower acute response of urban European blackbirds reflects a physiological mechanism enabling birds of this and possibly other species to successfully live in urban environments. Forest counterparts or species that lack these modifications in their stress response would not have this physiological mechanism and would therefore suffer. It is important to note that they were collected as nestlings because this demonstrates that the variation in the sensitivity to stress results can be from either the individual's reaction to its environment or an inherited genetic change due to local adaptation. In female birds in particular, they may adjust the stress physiology of individual offspring by changing the characteristics of the eggs. Now, is this domestication or urbanization? In the past, a reduction in stress responsiveness has been regarded as a physiological mechanism that helps domesticated animals adjust to living with humans. In relation to the physiological effects of domestication, the urban lifestyle of these European blackbirds may have evolutionary shaped the observed physiological response. The coexistence of changes in behavior and stress physiology in the urban birds suggests that urbanization of wild species favors coping styles different from the non-urban birds. This enhances their prospects of survival in a city environment. A few questions that could be made into future study possibilities. Will these results and patterns be shown in an experiment on free-roaming European blackbirds in both their native urban and native forest habitats under natural conditions? Are the urban European blackbirds self-sustaining, or is there a continual influx from the surrounding forests? Are cotocosterone stress response differences caused by seasonal organization? Are these stress responses adaptive or not, and are they harmful? And is this increased stress response an adaptive positive trait variation in relation to survival and fitness data? These are all future research possibilities. And here are all the citations that I've used in this PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.